the question is footwear. All right, so let's just start. I'm not a podiatrist. I'm not a physical therapist. I'm not a foot person. I'm not whatever medical insert you want to insert, whatever medical thing you want. I have dealt with a lot of foot issues myself and others. I have been around a lot of people that hike and have foot issues and have done some deep dives on this. Been around a lot of physical therapists, etc. What I will say is, which I'm sure will cause issues, as everything I'm going to say, is much like podiatrists in general, their job is not to fix the actual, to cure the disease. It's to hide the symptom. And I know some are going to argue with that, some won't. But if you have a foot issue and you start putting like supportive insoles and things in there, you're hiding the real disease. And again, this is for the vast majority of people. Somebody out there has got some weird disease or foot issue or something that, like you have to have a bionic shoe. Okay. And I think the question is probably in regards to stiff footwear versus like flexible footwear, barefoot footwear, etc. So I've run the gamut from plastic boots that don't move at all the way to now, all the way to like Vibram 5 fingers or less in the mountains with packs on. And now my feet aren't quite to the point where I can wear like Vibram 5 fingers, but I do wear really minimal shoes. So kind of the standard thing I would say is, when you look at the reality of this, is your foot is designed to support your weight, and humans have carried weight on their back for a very long time, right? All of recorded history and pre-recorded history, humans were carrying weight on their back. So this idea that, yeah, you can walk barefoot and it's okay, but as soon as you put a pack on, like, oh, it just destroys you, like, that's crap. We've been doing that forever. The packers on Everest wear tennis shoes up it. Like, everywhere you go, people don't have to wear these supportive shoes. It's funny when you hike some of these mountain ranges and, you're hiking it, and hunters need like plastics and mountaineering boots and all of this stuff. And then somebody's 4-year-old daughter comes walking up in Crocs, holding a teddy bear with a lollipop in her mouth, and is climbing the same thing. Like, it's okay. It doesn't always require these super specialized shoes. So, what I've learned and what we do in general is supportive shoes in general, but like hunting mountaineering boots are caskets for your feet. They're casts. They keep your foot from moving the way it's supposed to. They keep it stiff, immobile. And when you do that with any muscle and any tissue, it becomes weak. So if you're an adult and you've been wearing shoes your whole life, normal shoes, your feet are weak. Conversely, when you go to people that don't wear shoes, or someone that transitions properly into barefoot shoes, their feet are not weak. It does not matter what, I've had serious foot issues, which actually drove me to barefoot minimalist shoes. But it does not matter what the terrain is, from the Beartooths to the Frank Church to the nastiest rock slides and crags in the world. I can wear a tennis shoe. I can wear a mountaineering boot. I'll actually be hurt in a boot with an arch and an insole, supportive insoles. But it doesn't matter what I have. I mean, to me, it is kind of ridiculous to say I can only go up this hill if I'm wearing this super special boot. It's got to be the exact thing. And that's ridiculous. I should be able to do it in flip-flops. I should be able to do it in tennis shoes, whatever it is. So I don't accept that I have to wear a certain type of shoe to do most hunting, mountaineering things. I mean, if you're ice climbing, that's different. But backpack hunting, the goal, I believe, and from what I've seen, should be to transition into the most minimal shoe possible to do that thing. So there's a couple of reasons why. So first off, the way your lower body and your back and everything works from a functional aspect is like a linked chain. So the first thing, we'd say, like, hey, if you hurt your foot, you can walk out. If you roll your ankle, you can walk out with a limp. It's going to hurt, but you're okay. If you injure your knee, you might be able to hobble out, but you're probably going to need a crutch or a buddy to lean on. If you hurt your lower back or your hip, you're getting flown out or carried out. Okay. So when you look at the way the body, the lower legs, the legs work, is just like a lot of things in life, whether it's like mechanical engineering or, crashing on a car, is there's like impact zones basically that go. So if I'm gonna have an injury in the backcountry, I want that injury to be as low on the leg as possible. I want it to be my foot or my ankle. So if I'm wearing a super, bare shoe and I get my foot caught in a crack and I fall over and I break my ankle, that is terrible. I can wrap it up and almost guaranteed you can walk out if you can deal with the pain. Put a super supportive shoe on that goes over the ankle and locks your lower leg in, and the ankle and the foot, that's going into your knee or your hip, which now means you need help to get out or you're being airlifted out. So if something is going to go, I want it to be my foot, then I want it to be the ankle, then I want it to be the knee, and the last thing is I want the lower back or the hip. That's catastrophic. The flip side to that is a common statement that you'll hear and is really true is nobody rolls their foot barefoot. Nobody rolls their ankle barefoot. If you've rolled your ankle over and over and over and over again, and you have really weak ankles, you need to address that strength. You have a strength imbalance, tendon and ligament support imbalance. But normal people, you don't roll your ankle barefoot. But women in high heels roll their ankle all the time, and that's because that raised heel throws your center of gravity, your balance, and everything off and starts getting teeter-tottery on the heel. Well, a boot with a big heel is similar to that. It's not as bad, but it is similar. So when you're looking at that as like the across the board, you get a couple of things. One, we have injuries like rolling our ankle more often when our foot is elevated off the ground. That's number one. We have more rolling incidences for our ankle when we can't feel the ground. We have more rolling instances when the sole is stiff so it doesn't move. We have more rolling instances when our legs, our boots keep our feet from being tired, but our legs are okay, if that makes sense. Like, in other words, we're tired, but we don't really feel it, like we're muscularly tired, and we keep pushing until we just have like a complete muscle failure where I don't have the strength to keep my foot straight. So one of the common things with barefoot shoes, and even to me, is like my feet get tired at the end of the day hiking. My feet are tired. They're not injured. They're not hurting. They're tired because the muscles have worked that whole day. It also gives me a backstop of like, okay, my feet are getting to the point where they're getting so fatigued, I probably shouldn't go much further. So we have less injuries done correctly in barefoot or minimalist shoes because we can feel the ground, our heel isn't elevated, and our foot isn't elevated off the ground. Less injuries because it lets us know when we're getting fatigued easier. Quite frankly, I have better grip with the shoe that flexes around terrain instead of just being this stiff board that goes on everything. So less injuries because I don't slide or slip as often. In general, the issue with minimal shoes is not the minimal shoes, it's that people don't transition. If you've worn shoes your whole life, those are caskets. Your feet, lower legs, tendons, ligaments, all of it are extremely weak. They need to be built up. I'm not a doctor. I'm not telling you how you should do that. I would just tell you how you can do it, and how I've seen really good. If a guy is in a normal boot and normal shoes, it's, hey, when you're home, walk barefooted, always. After a few weeks of that, go get some type of more, not a true minimalist barefoot shoe, like a Vivo barefoot, or I think it was the New Balance MT1000s, that it was just like where there's like an 1/8 inch of rubber under your foot. But something like, Innovate used to make some interesting ones that had like 4 millimeter of drop and not much padding. Those are pretty good. A more minimal tennis shoe, and just start wearing them day to day more and more. After 2 weeks of that, if you're okay, then like work out in those shoes. And, if your feet get tired in the middle of the day, switch back in your normal shoes for that day and then do it again the next day. So you're changing the transition from supportive footwear to minimalist footwear like it's a workout program, an exercise program. So you're building your lower legs. So then once I can work out or wear those kind of medium, minimalist medium shoes all day long, then go for a run. But what I would tell people is, if you're going to run like 2 miles, run like an eighth of a mile or a quarter of a mile in the barefoot shoes, stop, switch to your normal shoes, or the minimalist shoes, switch to your normal shoes, then finish the run. And don't do that every day. Do like one run the first week or two runs the first week. And it should take from starting to being in that kind of medium minimalist shoe, so not a true minimal shoe, 6 weeks until you're running like a mile to 2 miles in them, maybe more, maybe 8 weeks. Doesn't matter how long it takes. You just want to build that leg up and the muscles up and the tendons and the supporting structures of your foot. And if it truly does hurt, stop, put your other shoes back on for a few days and let it rest. To go from supportive shoes into I'm going to carry a pack with more minimal shoes is kind of the same way as anything. Like once you can work out and run in minimalist shoes or close to minimal shoes, put a 15-pound pack on it and hike for half a mile for that day and then be done. And then if you're good the next day, maybe 2-3 days later, do a mile. And then kind of the rule of 10%, don't add more than, add 10% of weight or 10% of distance per week, not both. So if you start at a mile and you're okay with 15 pounds, then do like 20 pounds the next week and then do 25 pounds, 30 pounds, whatever. And what I would say is I probably the first year, like if you started in January in minimalist shoes, I probably wouldn't do like some legitimate true sheep or backpack hunt in absolute minimal shoes the next season. So, 7, 8, 9 months later, I would pick more like a standard, just lightweight hiking boot to try it in. And that's only if when you transition into your boot, the boots you're carrying a pack with, you're doing it off trail and getting all the balancing that has to come with negotiating real terrain and not this smooth path. You need your foot flexing and angles left and right, up and down, etc. You need that in your ankles to gather strength. So like once you can run on flat ground, okay, transition to true trail work where you've got roots and rocks and things you have to go over. And again, just take it easy in the beginning and slowly work your way in. Whatever you do with the minimal footwear, if you're going to do that, time and consistency is going to be the key here. You do not jump from I wear shoes with an orthotic insole to a Vivo barefoot trail runner that has no padding. You will break yourself and break bones and tear things. If you do it correctly, you can be in a much more minimalist shoe in 8-9 months, give or take. And by 2 years is when I've seen most people go from a normal supportive boot to being able to do anything they want to in like the Frank Church, goat hunting, sheep hunting, in truly minimal shoes. It takes about 2.5 years to make that transition. The difference and the reason you can do it is foot injuries go away. I haven't had a foot injury since I went to minimalist shoes. I don't know anyone that's had a foot or lower leg injury since they went to minimalist shoes that transition correctly. And that's dozens and dozens and dozens of people. I can do it in any shoe I want. I don't have to have some super special shoe to go hunting in. I'm wearing Innovate F-Light tennis shoes right now. They're more minimalist style. I can go hike any mountain that's around here. It doesn't matter. I can put a pack on. It doesn't matter. I'm not limited to the amount of the shoes I have to have. I'm not limited in the terrain. My feet don't break. They don't get injured. And it makes everything easier. I don't have to have special shoes to do this thing. They're just shoes. The one thing I will say that I do appreciate is on minimal shoes, when I'm going to take them off trail, I want the shoe to be like barefoot style. So, minimal or no drop at heel. And I want them to be flat and unpadded. What I want though is like almost spikes on the bottom. I do want a aggressive tread pattern, which is like some of the older Innovate trail shoes, the Mud Claws and stuff did a good job with that. But, Vivo Barefoot has got a couple of the Tracker ESCs and like some of their off trail shoes do well in that as well. So kind of the reason for minimal shoes is less injury, more control, more capability. I'm not limited by the shoes I'm wearing or on hand. Better foot health, more comfort. Like everyone I know that uses minimal shoes, Ryan, in this group, Ryan, but everyone I know, nobody is going back to a supportive shoe regardless of the terrain they're in. So if you got any questions, I guess ask us.